Welcome to the Fantasy Life Roundup, where every single week we will round up the biggest pieces of news and the best fantasy analysis from Fantasy Life to make you dominate your league every single week. So let's round up the biggest news and notes you need to know going into week one. It has been an absolutely brutal week for fantasy football injuries, and it just did not stop every single day going into week one. The biggest piece of news was Cooper Kupp. Now, Sean McVay did rule out Cooper Kupp for week one. He had a hamstring injury that he re-aggravated during practice, and they ruled him out on Wednesday, even after he went to go see a specialist. The worst piece of news here is that head coach Sean McVay did not rule out the idea of placing Cooper Kupp on the injured reserve list. So now, if he were to do that, Cooper Kupp would have to miss a minimum of 4 games. We're waiting on that news, but just be sure to go to fantasylife.com, check out our rankings, and see which wide receivers we would rather you pick up if you do have Cooper Kupp. If you really want to dominate your fantasy football leagues this year, then you have to be reading the Utilization Report from Dwayne McFarland on fantasylife.com every single week. He'll give you every single data point that will give you a leg up in your fantasy leagues. And this week he looked through 3 scenarios that we need to watch through in week one. One of them being, how much will the Jets trust Breece Hall? Let's watch.
I do think that Dalvin Cook is good enough, though, Marcus, that we don't see him just completely fade away. I think, and the team just knowing that they don't want to overload Breece Hall probably at any point in the season. So I think for Breece Hall to truly uncap like his big upside, it would have to be Dalvin Cook missing time late in the season. You know, I think there's like a slim chance Hall just goes nuclear and forces, where they just can't use Dalvin Cook anymore. But I do think Cook's a good enough player that's probably going to be challenging. But it is a big deal week one. What we don't want to see, like, what if it's 20% Breece Hall? Like that would be something where now you probably can't even have him in your starting lineup. You took him in round 4 or 5 of your draft, so that one's definitely going to be a big reveal.
Now, as always, the rankings and tiers are live at fantasylife.com and 100% free, so make sure you go check them out. Another piece of injury news that we got this week was that Travis Kelce was ruled out of Thursday night's game against the Lions. He hyperextended his knee during practice, but head coach Andy Reid did say that they are hopeful that he will be able to go for week 2. However, if you did not pick up Noah Gray as your tight end and played him on Thursday, we've got a couple tight ends that you can look at through the Fantasy Life rankings if you still need someone. One name to know is Greg Dulcich for the Denver Broncos. He could have a significant role only because Jerry Jeudy is still uncertain for this game in week 1, so we will see how that plays out. Another name to know also is Luke Musgrave for the Green Bay Packers. He will have a significant role because he is stepping in even as a rookie, so those are 2 names to definitely watch for on the waiver wire if you still need tight end help. Now, if you haven't heard about this one, buckle up because Joe Burrow got paid. And I'm not talking like Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, or Justin Herbert like those 3 did over the summer. No, he did something else. He got a 5-year extension with the Bengals worth $275 million with $219 million guaranteed. That makes him the highest paid player in NFL history. So now we know no one is ever going to ask again if his chain is real.
They're definitely real. I think I make too much money to have fake ones, so, these are real. I'm sorry, what was the second question?
All right, now let's go through Love, Hate, an article by the big boss Matthew Berry over at NBCSports.com, where he goes through a player that he loves and a player that he hates going into week 1. There's a nice, good list over there if you want to go and check it out. One player that he loves going into week 1, though, is quarterback Justin Herbert facing the Miami Dolphins this weekend. The last time he faced Miami, he put up season highs in completions and yards and also got 19.4 fantasy points. So we understand that the Miami Dolphins now have Vic Fangio. That defense should turn things around, but last season they were second in most points allowed to opposing quarterbacks, and they're going to be without Jalen Ramsey. So something to think about. A quarterback that he loves is Justin Herbert this weekend. All right, we went through Matthew Berry's love. Now let's go through his hate going into week 1, and it is none other than running back Najee Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now look, the whole Steelers offense has been getting love this offseason. You've got Kenny Pickett, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, the list goes on. But Najee Harris has been somewhat of a fade in the fantasy football community this offseason. Throw in that he averaged 3.8 yards per carry last season, and you have Jaylen Warren stepping up in some capacity, and you have the 49ers defense in week 1. It could be a tough week for Najee Harris, so that is one running back that Matthew Berry hates going into week 1. And of course, it wouldn't be an NFL weekend without a few bets, so make sure you go fantasylife.com. We have 100% free bets over on the website. One bet that we definitely like this weekend is Darren Waller anytime touchdown scorer plus 185 over on DraftKings. And we saw it in the preseason utilization that he was the focal point of this passing attack, and we want to take advantage of these early numbers, so go ahead, plus 185 over on DraftKings, Darren Waller anytime touchdown scorer. Another one that we like too is Geno Smith over rushing yards, over 13.5 rushing yards. Our head of betting, Matthew Friedman, has him projected for 20.5, so make sure you go hammer that line as well. So there it is, all the news and notes and fantasy analysis you need to go into week 1 and absolutely dominate against your opponents. So thank you so much for watching. Now go ahead, have a great weekend, and good luck.